Welcome to the Primo's Musings podcast.
Good evening, Dan. How are you doing?
Good evening. I'm doing great.
All right. You're all the way from New York going to the day one of the U.S. Open 2024 tennis finals. And it's going to be really exciting for you to go and see. And obviously, we have the semifinal date planned out. So let me just break it down here. Djokovic coming after an amazing, impressive gold medal win in Paris. You got Alcaraz coming after winning the Wimbledon and the French Open. And then you got Sinner, who was under cloud of investigation, but won the Austrian Open. But from what I heard today with his interview and Darren Cahill's interview today with Chris McHenry on ESPN2, it seems like he said, well, he's cleared by the tribunal, but he's going to work very hard to clear himself, in the court of public opinion. So with that, this couldn't be any more juicier from a U.S. Open with Djokovic not playing with any more knee brace, and then he's ready to go. So let's start off. I wanted to hear your initial thoughts, and we can start like we always do with the Sinner bracket, Alcaraz bracket, Zverev bracket, and Djokovic bracket, the top four seeds, I think.
Yeah. So, no, I think you summarized it well. There's a lot of, I think the top stories going into this are obviously Djokovic coming off the gold medal at the Olympics, like you said, about a month ago, and I think that was the one event he really was lacking to. Now he has the Golden Slam, as they call it, so he's really got everything accomplished. Now anything now is really just gravy, and just adding to his elusive number of Grand Slam titles that maybe Alcaraz will be chasing 15 years from now. Who knows? So obviously that story, Djokovic, after he won the gold, he hasn't really played much since then. The talk is that he's just been going out a lot, a lot of partying and stuff the last 17 or 18 days on, I think on all the social media, they show him at different bars and this and that, but he says he deserves it. He's living it up, but I'm sure he's been working hard, to be ready for this tournament. I'm sure he wants to win this just as much as anything still, just to prove that he can do it. And he hasn't won a Grand Slam, this year yet. So I'm sure he'd like to win. It'd be the first time in, I'm not sure how many years that he hasn't won a single Grand Slam. So I'm sure he wants to end the season on a top note. And then obviously the other big story is with, like you said, Sinner. You touched on that with the controversy surrounding the performance-enhancing steroid cream. And I think, like you said, the main thing is to clear his name in the school of public opinion. As you said, I think he's already been cleared otherwise. And as the Roddick podcast mentioned this week, it was the equivalent of a grain of salt, what they found in his system. So a very small trace amount that probably was contamination from a masseuse that was doing some work after he had a small injury, I think a few months back at Indian Wells early on in the spring. And then Alcaraz, that's the last story to see how he's going to end the season. He's obviously won the last two tournaments. I don't think anyone has won the French, the Wimbledon, and U.S. Open. I don't know if it's been done since the Grand Slam ever, way back when. So that would be, that's what Alcaraz is gunning for. After he got to the finals of the Olympics and was disappointed by Djokovic, I think he had the tournament at Cincy he played in, and I think he went out, I forget, not early, but then, maybe in the quarters or something. So he didn't have he lost to, who was it? He lost his temper, was to, you said Monfils, that's who he lost to. That's right, in 3 sets, and he really lost his temper. We never seen anything like it before, where he destroyed his racket on the court and apologized afterwards, obviously for his behavior. But we haven't seen him so frustrated. As he said after the match, was the worst match he ever played. But I think he's going to come out firing at the U.S. Open. It's best of 5 every match. So if he has a slow start in a couple of matches, he'll get it together by the 4th or 5th set. So going on, we can do our bracket picks as you want.
Before we get to the bracket. I will have a trivia question later for our good buddy Peter, but there's an interesting stat that's been going around in the U.S. Open, and they asked Djokovic about it. I listened to the entire Djokovic press conference today. Since 2008, no person has won back-to-back U.S. Opens.
Wow.
That is
Yeah.
That is incredible, and I got a great stat for you later, but I'll save the trivia question later.
It's 2008. That might have been Federer back then who won back
Yeah,
to.
Federer won 5 in a row. He lost to Del Potro in the fifth
Okay.
set, and
Wow.
then I gave you one of the trivia answers, but I'll give you the rest later. I'll
Okay.
ask the trivia later. So let's get to the center bracket. Who do you got going? Let's talk about like who do you think are the quarterfinalists there, and then any interesting
Yeah, we
matchups
can do our
as well.
round. We'll do our round of 16. How about we do it that way?
Okay, all right, I think that's
Round
good then.
four. So
Yeah.
round who we have in the rest. So I have in the center bracket. I'm basically chalk. I have the whole way. It's just hard to pick against these big seeds. So and in the men's tournaments recently, it really has been chalk for the most part. We get a lot of great matchups later on in the tournaments. Unlike the ladies, where there's a lot more parity and a lot more upsets. So I have Sinner and Tommy Paul in the round of 16, and then underneath that we have Tsitsipas and Daniil Medvedev, and then underneath that Alcaraz, Sebi Korda, and then maybe a small tiny upset here, nothing big. Kachanov, who I'm a big fan of over the year, he always has a good showing at the majors. I think he's been a little banged up, had a little bit of an off season last year and a half, but I'm hoping finds his form again. So Kachanov and then Hurkacz. Well, I think he might have had some injuries issues a little bit recently too. So basically chalk. Who do you have for your round of 16 matchups there?
So in the first two, I think I have pretty much chalk there too. I do have Sinner against Tommy Paul, Tsitsipas against Medvedev. I was thinking about going with FAA or Tsitsipas, but I think Tsitsipas, I got him moving on. And then there's an interesting matchup before we get to Carlos. Carlos playing against Draper.
Mm-hmm.
Draper was the one who beat Carlos in an earlier
Right.
tournament, but I still think Carlos will come through. And then I do have Korda there, but instead of Karen Khachanov, I do have this Australian De Minaur moving forward. I mean, De Minaur has got a very interesting matchup. Think, um, yeah, against Karen Khachanov, and I think you got Karen, I got De Minaur, and then I do have Hubie going to the round of 16, and then you want to stay with the same thing, or you want to go to the other, come back and do the quarterfinals later.
We can go to the other side and then go to the quarters. So I'm sorry, in the bottom half, you said you had Alcaraz and Korda as well.
Yeah, I do have Alcaraz and Korda, and then
De Minaur and Hurkacz.
So the only difference we have is Khachanov versus De Minaur.
Yeah, okay. I just thought De Minaur. I don't know the extent of his injury right now. I remember he had to default right from Wimbledon, I believe, right? De Minaur with that hip injury. So yeah, I'm not sure what his status is, but if he's healthy, I would probably. You're right. It's hard to pick
Djokovic
against
is playing with winning a gold medal after 2 months after getting a knee surgery. I think De Minaur could suck it up and get back.
Yeah, I think you're right. All right, so if we go to the other side, what do I got here? Let me think. In the top, so I have actually a small upset, nothing major here. Bublik going to the round of 16 here. He's a 27 seed out of Kazakhstan. I have him, I guess, knocking off. Looks like Ruud. I actually have Ruud losing second round to Monfils, and I have Bublik beating Monfils. So Ruud, I don't know. He's just kind of a tough player to know who's going to show up. He's a great clay courter, but he has had some good showings at the U.S. Open. He got to the finals a couple of years ago against Alcaraz, and he's done all right at the U.S. Open. But I have him losing to, like I said, to Bublik. And then so I have Bublik in the round of 16 with Fritz underneath that. And then Musetti, Musetti was a semifinalist, I think, at Wimbledon, and then I believe he had a decent run at the Olympics too. So he's a strong Italian player who's just a real grinder. He's not going to beat himself. You have to beat him. And then Zverev, who I think I heard the stat today has won the most wins of anyone on the ATP Tour this year. As far as wins, he's still searching for that elusive first Grand Slam title. He's reached a few finals. I think of Grand Slams, as we know, but still searching for the first Grand Slam championship. And then underneath that, we have always a bridesmaid, never a bride, the Rublev, who's got to, a million quarterfinals now, but not
won
beyond
10,
that.
I think.
But this is the round of 16, so we'll see if I predict him to go through to the quarters. Even Rublev against Dimitrov, and then I have the big foe and Djokovic underneath that in the round of 16. So go through your round of 16, see how it compares.
Yeah, in the round of 16, I do have, let me start with the Djokovic bracket. I do have Djokovic, Tiafoe, Dimitrov, Rublev. So pretty much
Yeah.
we both have the same thing. I do a very interesting matchup. I did put Shelton initially over Tiafoe. That's a great third round matchup
Oh
between
yeah.
top 20, two Americans in the top 20. And I think Tiafoe coming off that Cincinnati final, he's actually been playing really well. I'm going to give the edge to Tiafoe in that matchup. And I was thinking about Rublev and Jiri Lehechka. I think that's a guy that JW actually in Andy Roddy's podcast had him go a little further along,
Yeah.
at least in quarterfinals, I think. And then this is going to be the on the other side of the bracket there. You'll be surprised here. I do have Zverev,
Okay.
but all the other three, they're all different for me.
Oh wow.
I'll give you my reasoning for that. So you have Musetti going on. I do have Rune beating Musetti. I think Rune was somebody who was playing really good in Cincinnati um, against Monfils. I really thought, I think maybe he's turning the corner. And the other surprise that you actually have is that I actually have Matteo Berrettini, an ex-Wimbledon champion, or sorry, an ex-Wimbledon runner-up, beating Fritz and
Okay.
beating Hugo Humbert and of France and moving on to the round of
Okay.
16. So
Mm-hmm.
there it is. And then the other one is, I don't know, for some reason, this guy, US Open finalist, French Open finalist twice, Casper Ruud,
Mm-hmm.
who apparently beat Carlos in golf recently.
Okay.
So I got Ruud, Berrettini, Rune, Zverev, then Rublev, Dimitrov, Tiafoe, Djokovic. So I think in the round of 16 so far, we have four different players. You got
Yeah.
Karen Khachanov for Diminar, and then Bublik, Ruud, Berrettini, Fritz, Rune, Musetti.
Okay.
Okay, so let's stay in the Djokovic side of things. Who do you have in the quarterfinal there?
So then I have.
Maybe let's go all the way to the semifinal there.
Okay, so go. Okay, so then I have in the Djokovic. So I have Djokovic moving on over Tiafoe, Dimitrov moving on over Rublev. I think, yeah, I mean Rublev maybe he'll be a quarterfinalist, but either way he's not getting out of that round. And whether it's Rublev or Dimitrov, I see Djokovic going to be rolling to the semifinals. I think there rather easily. And then in the upper half, I have Zverev moving on over Musetti, and then I have Fritz going on over Bublik. And then I have Zverev. Like, he's just going to be too tough against Fritz. So I have Zverev in the semi against Djokovic. Would be a rematch of the semifinal that I saw with my good friend Eric Palmquist many years ago. They went 5 sets at the U.S. Open. I think back in 2021, I want to say. And the year Djokovic lost to Medvedev in the final, he beat Zverev in 5 sets at the U.S. Open. So that'd be a nice rematch if we see that in a couple Fridays from now. So I have Joker versus Zverev in the semifinal there. How do you see things playing out on that bracket?
Well, I do have the same thing. So I have Zverev and Djokovic in the
Okay.
semifinal, except
Yeah.
I already have Fritz losing in the earlier rounds. So I do have
Yeah.
Ruud playing against Zverev,
Okay.
and then Dimitrov playing against Djokovic. Like I said,
Yeah.
there is a chance that Rublev could move to the quarterfinals, but I don't think he will stand a chance against Djokovic. I would rather have Dimitrov there to play, and then it's going to be, like you said, a rematch of sorts. Um,
Yeah.
like 3 years ago, I think, maybe with Zverev and Djokovic.
Yeah.
Let's go to the other bracket. Who do you have there going to the semifinals?
Yeah, so in that upper bracket, I'm going kind of with chalk here. I see Sinner versus Medvedev. I think versus Medvedev. I think it'll be a great match. I think it's gonna be a fun match to watch. What an amazing quarterfinal that's going to be. Medvedev, the former U.S. Open champion, and finalist at the Australian, and another final. I think he's also been a runner-up at the U.S. Open besides being champion there. So. And I think as well as an Australian Open finalist. But still, that being said, Sinner I think is going to be too tough. For Medvedev, Sinner's just got too many weapons now, and just Medvedev struggled a little bit the last month or two, but that being said, I think Sinner is still going to be too much. And then on the lower half with Alcaraz, whether it's Kachanov or Hurkacz or whoever, Alcaraz is going to be way too tough on that side. I think he's going to roll easily. So set up a dream matchup that we hopefully will see in, like, once again, Alcaraz Sinner. I mean, that's going to be unreal if that's the semifinal. I can't get over that. So that's how I see it. I'm predicting you're seeing things the same way, but you tell me. Yeah.
No, I think you got it. I do feel that Sinner, despite all the the cloud of suspicion that's going on, um, after the performance thing, but I still feel Sinner. I think he played an amazing final against Tiafoe. And interestingly, Tiafoe was probably one of the very few non-Italian players to defend Sinner, I think. And I think Djokovic had a pretty decent answer too, and Alcaraz too. But I feel it's going to be Sinner and Alcaraz in the semifinal as well. I mean, for us, it's going to be both of us have the top four seeds going to the semifinals. So it's going to be Sinner, Alcaraz, and then Zverev and Djokovic. Yep.
And then,
So
then the way things play out from there. So the predictions I have, so I have Djokovic moving on over Zverev and Alcaraz over Sinner, setting up, a number one versus number three, but many people might argue one versus two right now, or, I mean, it's interchangeable, really, the top three, but I think this is going to be Djokovic's. He's going to put the crown on into the year, way to finish the season. He's going to pick up his, I don't know how many U.S. Opens this will be for him, but number 25 for the Grand
25 overall,
total.
yeah.
Yeah, probably 6 or 7 U.S. Opens. Yeah, don't quote me on that, but maybe 5 or 6. I'm not even sure. But I think Djokovic is gonna get this one. I think he really wants this one, just because, like I said, he hasn't won a major yet this year, and he would love to beat Alcaraz in a major, which he has not done yet. He obviously beat him at the Olympics, 2 out of 3, 2 tiebreakers, close match, great match. But what I think he would just love, he's gonna put his all into this one to really get Alcaraz in a major, and I see it going to Djokovic. How about you? What's your prediction in this one?
I'm going to actually stay. I was debating really hard, considering when we both watched the gold medal game, and I think there's a different surface. Um, I think Carlos is playing as good as he can. The only doubt I had a little bit on Carlos there was that the last few matches he's played on hard courts, whether it's Cincinnati, I don't think he played.
He didn't play Canada, Toronto,
He
or
didn't play Canada, Toronto.
Montreal.
But I feel that he comes to play. Like, he's another Djokovic, who's a younger version of Djokovic, I think, who just comes to play. And just when you think that, you don't expect him to win the French, he wins the French. I mean, I kind of knew he was going to go to the Wimbledon final because he won it already. But French was something that I didn't expect him to win, but he still won that. So I'm going to pick Alcaraz over Djokovic, and then it's going to even their score or head-to-head match at 4-all. So right now it's 4-3 Djokovic after the gold medal game. And I know, I think as a Djokovic fan, I think you want him to win that 25 and also win the one major because, like you said, right? I don't remember the last time he has not won a major. I don't know how many years it has been. So I feel that Alcaraz is going to get 3 in a row. Could be the first man to do that, and that's what I'm predicting. But although, you know what, we've been predicting the round of 16. I do think there are some very interesting matchups for both of them in earlier rounds. Like I said, you got the Alcaraz um, Draper match, which we talked about because there's the person who has beaten him. The other thing is that I do feel in the Djokovic bracket, and both of us do agree that Djokovic got a pretty easy bracket. I think when you look at it, you have like Medvedev, you have Medvedev, Paul, Sinner, all in the one bracket. Like, but
Yeah.
I think again, it'll all even out
Yeah.
eventually.
But Djokovic,
Right?
I'm looking now, you're right. He's going to have to go through a big American favorite, either Tiafoe or Shelton, presumably in the round of 16. So,
Yeah,
Shelton, he went through pretty easily. You
and
saw that semi last year, but Shelton's a little more accomplished player this year than last, a little more polished. But Tiafoe will be a huge. The crowd will be on Tiafoe's side big time, as well as Shelton. Pulling for the American in a close match. As much as they still, the crowd will still get behind Djokovic. I think they still, even though he's not always at peace with the crowd, I think, to say the least, but I think they still root for him secretly.
yeah.
But against the American, there's no doubt they'll be pulling for Tiafoe or Shelton in the fourth round against him. So that might be his toughest match before he gets to the finals against us.
There is one other round. I mean, although I don't hold much to it, I think Popperin actually.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at it from Australia, Alexei Popperin, he actually won the Canadian half of the thing. I think he won the Montreal one, if I'm not mistaken. And then, playing against Djokovic, I still think Djokovic, but I think Djokovic first big challenge is going to come in the fourth round if Shelton and Tiafoe can move forward there into the fourth round. And like I said, the crowd's going to be all over for them.
Yeah.
So I think that's where we have it. I mean, you have Djokovic, I have Alcaraz, and I hope for us for the U.S. Open, I hope that we see all four of them: Zverev, Djokovic, Alcaraz, Sinner, and nothing better than that.
Yeah.
All right, let's get down to the trivia question, which let me start off by saying that since 2008, there's been no repeat champion. So 2008 was when Federer won it. And I already give you one answer of Delpo beating Federer that stopped Federer's round of 6. But we do know that there were two other. We know Alcaraz won it last year. We know that. And we know that Medvedev beat Djokovic. We both talked about this. So who are the other players who have won the U.S. Open during that time frame?
So between what time frame we're talking?
So Delpo, let's take Delpo out. Let's take Alcaraz out. Let's take Medvedev, because we knew that Alcaraz and Medvedev the last, they won the last 2 out of the 3 years, and then Delpo beat Federer. So you know the answer for that. But then Djokovic and Nadal actually won 4 times between 2008 and 2024. But there have been 4 other players who have won the U.S. Open. During this time period. Do you know who they are?
Let's see here. So we know, well, Federer was one of them. Besides Federer, also.
No. He didn't win it.
Between 2008, you said, and 2024.
Yeah.
Federer has not won it, really, in the last 16 years.
No.
Wow. God, this is a tough one then. And you said Djokovic, Nadal, Delpo. Let me think about this. Oh, so we know during the COVID was Dominic Thiem, so that's one of them.
Thiem, okay, that's good. Okay,
Thiem won during the
COVID
COVID Open 21, and then like you said, Medvedev won the one. Djokovic has won the last couple. Let me think about who else.
4. Djokovic won 4, and then
Nadal. But Thiem won the one. Del Potro prior. God, well, Roddick was way back. Andy Roddick won in 2003. That's way back. So that's 2.
That's way back.
Far back.
I'll give you some hints here. Okay.
Yeah, this is a tough one. Besides the big 3.
2. Okay, you got Thiem. That's a good one.
Andy Murray probably got one.
Okay, that's a good one.
Murray Thiem.
And there's 2 other players that you have.
Stan Wawrinka.
One of them is actually a multiple major winner, and the other one has been to a final of another major. I mean, he won this major, obviously. He won this U.S. Open.
Murray Thiem, Stan Wawrinka. How about Stan the Man?
That's good. That's very good. So you got Thiem, Stan, and Murray.
Murray, Thiem, Stan. So there's one more. You're saying this is the guy who's been to other finals.
He has been to a final.
Not Nishikori. He never won the U.S. Open. Kei Nishikori.
No.
Nishikori.
The funniest part is he did play Nishikori. This player did play Nishikori.
Really? And no. Kevin Anderson got to a final, but he didn't win. No,
that was Wimbledon though.
That was Kevin Anderson. He played Nishikori. This guy, huh?
He beat Nishikori in the final, straight sets, but he's also been
Leighton Hewitt. No. That was going way too back.
yeah.
No. Beat Nishikori in the final in straight sets. I do.
He was in two. Actually, he was in two finals. Actually,
he beat Nishikori.
One in Wimbledon.
I can almost remember that. Now, it was. We said Andy Murray though, right? It wasn't Murray team. Wawrinka.
And he lost to the same player in Australian and Wimbledon.
Jeez. I don't know. I'm drawing blanks. I hate to say. I'll phone a friend.
Does the name Marin Cilic ring a bell?
Oh my God! I never would have got that in a million years. Nope.
No.
It does ring a bell, but yeah.
When I looked at the I looked at the stat, that blew me away, and I think that Pete Suttmeyer will be really happy about this.
Yeah, I remember him now in the Australian final. I think against Djokovic. If I'm not, was it Djokovic or?
Oh no, Federer. He lost to Federer in 2018. He lost to Federer in 2017.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Wow.
Both times. Yeah. So that's a good. I thought it was. This was something I made up after looking at the stat, and they actually asked Djokovic about, hey, you know what? Since 2008, no one has won a back-to-back, and he said, well, maybe it's time to change it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Well, I got two quick ones today. This is stuff. One we kind of talked about, and then one I heard on the Andy Roddick podcast. So it's repeating that. The two questions are: who is the last American to win the U.S. Open, and then secondly, who's the last player under 5'10" to win the U.S. Open? I don't know if you heard the whole Andy Roddick podcast.
Oh, really? I didn't hear the whole.
Yeah, the last player either under 5'10" or under 6 feet. I forget what the what the threshold was.
American or the player itself?
Well, there was the last. So there's two questions. Who's the number one? Who's the last American to win the U.S. Open? And number
that should
two,
be Roddick, right?
That was Roddick in 2008, I think, or 8 or 3. I'm blanking. And then the second question is, who's the last player? We'll say under 5'10" to win the U.S. Open.
Don't tell me Steen.
No, it wasn't him. He's an Australian fella.
Oh, 5'10"?
Under
Patrick
5'10", less than 5'10".
Patrick Rafter?
No, Rafter maybe is. Well, there's been somebody since him. His initials are. Oh yeah, Leighton Hewitt. Yeah.
Okay. All right. There you go. Okay.
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah,
but that's a good one.
Kind of a weird question, but they were mentioning it today on the show, so I figured I would regurgitate it for you. Yeah.
So yeah, I think you're ready to watch the day one of the U.S. Open, and you know, and hopefully the weather is pretty good tomorrow. I think it should be fine. I think, and then hopefully for the semifinals, again. It'll be fine either way. It'll be inside anyway. So
yeah, so we'll be good to go, and
we'll be good to go to watch that. So yeah, so I think that's where we are. I think is Djokovic number 25 or Alcaraz number 5? Or maybe it's somebody else who would come and take all our predictions and throw it away. So we'll see.
It'd be great to see an American in the semifinals too, to make some noise for it too. That now, if we have Fritz or Paul or the Big Foe, or the crowd will be really electric if it's an American somehow in the semis or the final. That'd be great to see. So
interestingly, I think there's like 5 Americans in the top 20 in the U.S. Open right now, with Fritz, Paul, Shelton, Tiafoe, and who's one more?
Korda? Did you say Korda?
Korda. Yeah. Although, let's see. I mean, he's somebody who's actually disappointed. I think his sister is probably winning more championships than he's doing. So, all right, Dan. I hope you enjoy U.S. Open.
Thank you.
And I think we'll look for some nice pictures and things like that, and then we'll publish it later. And enjoy and have a safe drive back.
Thank you.
All right, just hold on a second. I'm going to stop recording.
Thanks for listening. Primo and Dan will be back soon.